Have you ever wondered how to calculate the amount of fabric you need for smocking? Well, I wish I could give you a simple answer, but unfortunately it kind of depends on the pattern. So here I have the pieces from 3 different patterns, all made by the same company, and they're all different. So some patterns, like this piece here, just give you the full piece that you're supposed to cut out, and then you just pleat it in the marked places or with the appropriate amount of rows and the appropriate distance up from or down from the top, which will be marked on the pattern. So that's the simplest because there's no calculating needed. You just cut it and pleat it. But other patterns don't do that. And there are 2 more differences. So some will give you a guide. And this guide here, you can see the seam allowances. This is the size that you're going to block your finished smocked piece to. It would be this height, so it does give you the height at least of what you need. But you have to figure out how much width you need to pleat it down to this size. So that's what you would have to calculate on this. And then there are ones like this piece here, which is a template. And you can see here it's got marked, this is the top row smocking and this is the top holding row. So this is not even the full size of the insert. You still have to have a little more above and below it in order to even have a holding row here. So with this one, you have to calculate both the height and the width. So we'll talk about the width first. In order to calculate the width, whether you're using either one of these types of pieces or if you just know you're wanting to make an insert that's a certain size, you take that size or you measure your piece and then you're going to multiply that size by either 3 or 4. And I say 3 or 4 because it depends on the smocking you're doing. For geometric smocking, I find you need less pleats, and therefore multiplying it by 3 is sufficient. If you're doing picture smocking, you need those pleats to be more densely packed, and because of that, you'll go ahead and multiply it by 4. So this piece here is about 11.5 inches, which means that if I was doing geometric smocking, I would cut a piece that was about 34.5 inches wide. If I were doing picture smocking, I would do it at approximately 46 inches. And this can vary a little also depending on the thickness of the fabric. The thicker your fabric, the less width you need. So you will have to play around with it a little at that point as well. These numbers just make a good starting point. So calculating the height can be a little trickier. The way I would suggest to do it is to figure out how many rows you need. Remember, that would be your total number of smocking rows as well as your 2 holding rows. Take that number and multiply it by 3/8. Then add a 1/4 inch to that. So for example, if I was doing a total of 5 rows of pleating, I would multiply 5 times 3/8, which would give me 1 7/8. I would then add a 1/4 inch to that 1 7/8, which would give me 2 1/8 inch. Or 1/8 inch. So that's how I calculate the size of fabric to cut for smocked pieces. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for another handmade happening.